Hi everyone, my name is Dober. I got 2 years of experience with e-commerce and SEO as a developer, um, and I want to share a foundational problem if you're using a JavaScript framework and you also want SEO. So I've seen people screw this up, other developers, uh, and it's crucial you understand that. Otherwise, Google will never index you, even index you, let alone rank you. Google will never rank you if you don't understand this concept. It's about server side versus client side rendering. What do these words even mean? A server is basically a computer that listens 24/7, basically. Rendering, when we talk about SEO, we mean making HTML, rendering HTML, building the HTML for the page. So what's the HTML for the browser? How we build that? So server-side rendering means we make, render the HTML on the server, whichever word you understand best. For me, it's building the HTML. We're making the HTML on the server and we send the whole HTML to the browser. Yeah, that's the 99.9% of websites. I don't know, whatever. That's the standard. Every server-side language like PHP, Python, yeah, whatever, Java works that way. They send the ready HTML to the browser. Now you might be thinking, well, what's the other way? What? I, I thought that's it. So the other way is client side rendering, making the HTML on the browser on the client, building the HTML there. It works by sending a boilerplate HTML. So you can think of it as a head tag, body, and a div. Nothing else. It's empty. It's a shell. It's an unfinished HTML. Again, whichever word you prefer. I call it a shell. It's empty. An empty shell of HTML. And we send a ton of JavaScript, like React, for example. We send a ton of JavaScript that finishes building the HTML. It makes the complete, I don't know, blog article or the products page. It makes the HTML. A quick side note, JavaScript can change HTML without any frameworks. Just I know it's too basic. I just wanted to point that out. So we send that JavaScript to change the HTML, to build the final HTML, how a products page or blog article should look like, and what's the data inside. Otherwise, it's a blank page. It's just a boilerplate if we don't send this JavaScript. So why even client side? What's going on? React works that way. And also, if you want a single page application, the mobile app feel, navigation without the whole page refreshing, then you need client-side rendering. And that's the standard way the JavaScript frameworks work, like React, Svelte, Vue, whatever. Yeah, I'm talking about these three. There's just too many JavaScript frameworks. I forgot. So where's the problem with the SEO? Why why do we even talk about this? Well, Google cannot execute JavaScript. I'll say that again. Google does not execute JavaScript. So a crash course on SEO. Google comes on your website sees what the content is, and then indexes. After that, the user searches and Google retrieves the data from the index. Now, how you rank depends on your content, but that's the basics of it. It uses a web crawler to index your content. It sees it. That's useful. That's not useful. I'll take that and I'll index it. But if our application, the whole content for the application depends on the JavaScript building the HTML and fetching data, we're not sending the ready complete HTML from the server. We're only sending this shell that's empty and a ton of JavaScript to build that shell into a finished blog article, for example. Now Google sees that shell, the HTML, Google reads HTML, but what happens if he doesn't execute the JavaScript? Well, exactly, blank page. So your SEO, I don't believe it can get worse than that. Maybe that's the worst thing you can do in SEO, a blank page. So if you do client-side rendering, Google will see a blank page. No, I'm saying my assumption is you use like Vite React. That's what I'm talking. Or Vue with Vite. No, the client-side rendering, strictly client-side rendering. You're sending the shell plus a ton of JavaScript to build it. Then Google sees a blank page. And I've seen developers that don't have this basic knowledge of SEO and screw things up. It's like the video will be about 8 minutes. It's super fundamental for any developer, I believe. So what a quick summary. Google doesn't execute JavaScript. I'll link the article below. They literally say like we might execute it, we might not, but let your website not depend on JavaScript. Don't. Uh, and they recently made it with red, so no JavaScript. Uh, and we need JavaScript to build our client-side rendered application. So if we have no JavaScript, then our CSR client-side application will fail. It's a blank page. Whereas the server-side render, we send the complete HTML. Google can read it. Everybody's happy. Now, what can you do if you have a client-side rendered application? Let's say either Svelte, Vue, or React. That's the most likely scenario you're in. You need to use the meta framework for server-side rendering. The framework above React is Next.js, the most popular. You can use whatever. There's just too many. Like Next.js is the most popular. It allows React, the JavaScript, to render on the server, and then from the server we send the complete HTML. And Google is happy. Google doesn't have to execute JavaScript. It's already executed on our server and being built into HTML. Now for Vue, there's Nuxt. I believe they're all great. Svelte, Svelte Kit. So for all of these client-side JavaScript frameworks, they have a meta framework which allows them to be server-side rendered. And also the other benefits, except actually having SEO. Like if that's not enough, like okay, fine. Then you probably don't need SEO. But if you want any kind of SEO, then start with that. Start with server-side rendering. Also, the benefit is speed. you can ship the complete HTML to the browser instead of shipping this small HTML shell that's useless and the JavaScript with it. First of all, the browser has to rebuild the HTML from the JavaScript. And secondly, most likely, the JavaScript will do a another request to the server so that he can get the data. So you first wait for the initial request to get the JavaScript, and then you wait again for the JavaScript to fetch actual data like the article name from the server. Well, that's awful. On the other case, if you execute React on Next.js, then React can do a query. Like the user requests a page, React does a query to the, not React Next.js, does a query to the database, and then instantly can rebuild the HTML on the server. And we can assume that the Next.js and the database will be close to each other, so the latency is low. And the whole HTML is being built much faster. We avoid network trips and send the complete HTML to the browser. Oof. Okay, guys, if you're using any kind of JavaScript framework and want some kind of SEO, then you must use server-side rendering. Otherwise, Google sees a blank page. I'll link the article below. Also, how you can test what Google can see. Go into your browser settings and turn off JavaScript, to emulate how Google sees the web. Then go on your website and, tell me in the comments what you see. Is it a blank page? If it's like a V React app, or do you actually see something? Let me know in the comments.